Hello, welcome to another review episode with Carson and Paolo. On today's episode, we are talking about quote-unquote fun action movies, where we are talking about two movies that we will very much disagree on, one being Netflix's The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, and the other being The Roundup, which is a recent Korean action movie. We're going to be doing this in the style of, I guess, dueling reviews. We're going to talk about both at the same time. I liked The Roundup much more. Paulo, I think you liked The Gray Man much more.
Much more.
I am probably irrationally upset about The Gray Man because everyone keeps telling me, oh, it's just a fun movie. Just like turn your brain off and enjoy it. And I was incredibly bored the entire time. I guess we will go into why throughout this conversation. But this is probably the most notes I've made for a podcast episode in a while because I want to make sure I get all of my complaints out because I have numerous.
So you have all these notes about The Gray Man.
I have very few about The Roundup.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I actually I skimmed through it this morning just to remind myself of all of the scenes so that I could make sure, here's a scene I need to complain about. Is there anything else you wanna say before we dive into it?
I'm just going to be I'm going to be reactionary I think for most of this. But I do have points to get out. I'll save them. Like you said, I enjoyed The Gray Man a lot more than The Roundup, and I'd like to get it out of the way early on so I don't have to keep repeating myself. But I understand that The Gray Man is not like quote unquote a good movie. I am very much on the side. I'm probably one of those people. I mean, if I had spoken to you earlier about this, I would have been one of those people where I was saying that it's one of those just dumb, fun action movies. Turn your brain off. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not going to go too much more into that, but I think that's like really the most apt description of The Gray Man.
And that's specifically why I chose The Roundup, because there's a few points where I'm going to compare this to actually good movies, and I don't think that's fair, because I would agree that, like, The Gray Man is not an Academy Award-winning movie, neither is The Roundup, but, like, even if all you're trying to accomplish is just, like, turn your brain off and enjoy it, it utterly failed at that for me. Like, I was bored and annoyed the whole time, whereas The Roundup, also not aiming to be an amazing movie, but I had fun. I could turn my brain off and I could be like, here's some fun characters doing some fun things. I don't think it was the most fun movie I've ever seen, but it's like when people say, turn your brain off, have like just, enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Roundup accomplished that. Gray Man very much did not.
So I'll make my first point because I want to get this out of the way too about the Roundup. But it's the one big problem that I had is that. And I can't really hold this against the Roundup because I'm sure Korean people understand it. It is a Korean movie for like context for anyone listening. And like I kind of had to turn my brain on like a lot more to kind of follow what was going on. Like there's obviously the language barrier. There's certain things that like I don't know how to describe. I feel like they're kind of like when you look at the translation, it's obviously not certain things don't hit the same way. Like if they're talking trash to each other, like it obviously sounds better in Korean than if you're reading the literal English translation. So it doesn't hit as hard. So that was kind of a problem for me. And also like at one point I got up to get myself some tea. And when I got back, I had no idea what was happening anymore. So, I mean, again, things I can't really hold against it, but it's like, it's not exactly what I'm looking for if I want like a turn your brain off and have fun type movie. I mean, the action was good and we can get more into that later, but yeah, that was like a difficulty I had.
I'm not even going to say that the action was that good in The Roundup, but yeah, we're gonna anyway. So introing The Gray Man, because this is a point that's going to feed into some of my points later on. Directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed the last two Avengers movies, as well as Captain America 2 and Captain America Civil War, which you can see a lot of Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. If you look up the stunt coordinators and all that, they brought the whole crew along. This is very much like a Marvel movie. Marvel is not great at action. And like, I'm not even gonna like shit on Marvel here. It's like the value of those movies is you have the fun characters and the fun outfits, and they're doing kind of, saying quippy things while they're fighting. But as a pure action movie, they're not particularly that great. And this is actually a question. I was gonna give you time to prep about this, but I forgot. What would you say are like your top 3 favorite action scenes in the Marvel cinematic universe? And not just scenes that are scenes that you like that happen to have action in them, but like you actually liked the action the most. Like, what comes to mind for you?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I could have used some some time to prepare on that one. I think mostly, I understand what you're getting at. That the action is not like, nothing really stands out with like 50 Marvel movies. I can't really. Maybe it's best that I didn't prepare because it's more of a natural answer. Like, nothing really stands out. I mean, maybe the Winter Soldier, like some of the fights in that one, because they're a lot more grounded. They're more like realistic. It's like hand to hand. It's not like people staring at each other because of laser eyes or like reaching out with their hands. So like the CGI can do all the fighting, because there's a lot of that. Obviously, they're superheroes. Not a lot of people are punching each other.
Yeah, which was my biggest complaint about Multiverse of Madness, where it's just a bunch of people shooting different colored lasers at each other and you don't fully understand what's going on. But you don't need to. Like, I don't think that's a requirement. Whereas, like, The Gray Man is an action movie. The action needs to be good. You can't hinge it on the characters the same way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe does. And it's like, they have a lot of forgettable action scenes and it's fine. Oddly enough, I think my favorite action scene from all of the Marvel movies is one that the Russo brothers did, which is at the end of Civil War when Iron Man is fighting Cap and Winter Soldier at the very end. I actually thought that was like a half decent fight scene, whereas a lot of it is very forgettable. And that's like one of my biggest complaints about this movie is this is a pure action movie, but it has the same type of action that a Marvel movie would have, which is pretty forgettable. But I'm going to go into more detail because I'm going to go scene by scene through this movie because I have specific complaints. Maybe not every single scene, but most scenes. Okay. So this is the format that I'm going to talk about this in. Opening credits / opening scene. The introduction of our characters. And I think I'll double this one up of introduction of Ryan Gosling's character and later on the introduction of Chris Evans' character. And I'm going to compare this to the Roundup, but also some other better movies.
Okay.
In general,
they're both terrible.
Yes. But like, that's a very important part of like the whole movie is grounded on Ryan Gosling versus Chris Evans. You need to introduce those characters to make you care about them. Ryan Gosling's character is basically just sitting in jail with Billy Bob Thornton coming in and saying, you're in jail, but I think you're good. And they're just saying things about the character.
And you're good at killing bad guys.
What I want to see is show me who the character is. Obviously, there's maybe an unfair comparison, but one of the best versions of this is Indiana Jones, the first movie, where you have that fun scene where he's going, through those caves and, you get to see who he is as a character. It's not just another character telling us who Indiana Jones is. You see that he's, obviously he's an archaeologist. He's going on adventure. He can do action scenes. He has the person that he cares about. He's too trusting, blah, blah, blah. You also meet his nemesis, but it's a very good introduction of a character by showing you who he is. Doesn't necessarily need to be about the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas the Roundup, I think, does an okay version. And I don't know if you know this, but the Roundup is a sequel to a movie that I didn't watch either.
Nope, no idea.
But you get that initial scene where he's going into a convenience store. Some guy is like throwing a knife around. And, just a very simple, he disobeys orders. He goes in, he's cocky, he beats up the bad guy.
And he punches a guy through a wall.
Yes, one of the comical parts of the Roundup for me was just how overpowered he is. It's like you see him punch and then somebody goes flying across a room, which has annoyed me in other movies, but I kind of gave it a pass because of this movie being a bit goofy. But anyway, it's like, that's just a very simple thing. Show me who the character is. Don't tell me. Whereas the one that annoyed me more was the introduction of Chris Evans' character, where it's just like CIA lady in the bathroom saying, he's a psychopath. His methods are horrible. And then there's an opportunity for us to get to see that when we see him for the first time and he's torturing somebody, except you don't actually see him torture anybody. You just like half a second and the guy starts like confessing and it's like, okay, he tortures somebody, but like I need to see that scene a bit more. Like I don't really feel anything for this character because somebody is saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. Like, this is probably the biggest thing I'll agree with you for between the two movies. And like you said, like the Chris Evans as the bad guy in The Gray Man, his introduction is marginally better than Ryan Gosling's as the protagonist, which is really, like, I agree, it's really bad because literally first scene of the movie, you're introduced to Ryan Gosling and he like. He's already not very charismatic as it is. And that's another level of like us having to be told, like Billy Bob Thornton is like asking him a question, then Ryan Gosling gives some quip that is not great or memorable. And Billy Bob Thornton's like, oh, I get it. You're glib. So like the audience is like, oh, okay, he's glib. This is what we got to know about him. Aside from like, you kill bad guys and you're going to be good now for whatever reason.
And also there's like the whole thing about him killing his dad because his dad was abusive actually comes up later in the movie, and it's like that first scene would have been a good opportunity to foreshadow or give us some information because they really like pull some stuff out of thin air later in the movie, which I'll get to. But it's just like they don't do a very good job of even giving you the required information that you need to know about him. They give you kind of like the bare minimum. And I think part of it is they're trying to set up a cinematic universe with this. And so, again, linking back to Marvel, they don't want to give you all the information because they want to set up future movies. But this is the first movie. I really need that information about these characters because I don't know who they are.
If anything, that's the only information you need in that first movie. Because, like you said, we don't get that at all. So fine, I agree with that. I'm like more of my arguments in support of are actually about the action, which you've mentioned. I kind of disagree. I don't know if we're gonna derail your order of complaints here, but I actually did enjoy the action quite a bit in The Gray Man. So
I'll go through each of these because I have some specific complaints, and I'm kind of interested of like because I think some of them are better than others, obviously. But the first two fights, I have a very similar complaint against, and that is the fight where he fights Sierra 4, aka KGB, the KG Beast from the DC movies, which is his character's name that you never actually get to hear his name, but the guy who...
Oh, he's like Dining Car or something.
He's the guy who threatens to blow up Superman's mom. With the flamethrower.
Oh no, sorry, I'm talking about his name in The Gray Man.
Is that his? Okay, yes.
It's like he's called Dining Car or something weird like that.
And then there's the second fight on the airplane, and in both of these fights, you don't get to see anything that's going on because in the first one there's fireworks going off all around them. You don't get to see any of the action, and then in the airplane, for some reason, he pulls out like a smoke grenade and starts like throwing smoke all over the scene, which once again. You don't see any of the action going on, which it's an action movie. I would like to see the action.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like you still see enough of it. Like I don't think I had a problem with either of those two. I think my issue with the airplane fight scene would have been like more of that. That one was a little more forgettable. The opening fight scene with the Sierra 4. That one was okay. It was cool. Like with the fireworks going off and like them like directing fireworks at each other. That was all right.
The concept of it was okay, but I think so. Here's one of the unfair comparisons because it's like a really good fight scene. And I forget which one, but one of I forget his name, but the most recent James Bond movies. He's doing an assassination on top of like a building in progress, and then there's like the shiny lights of Hong Kong or something in the background, and you get to see the two people fighting in the foreground. I should have looked up which one this is, but it's a really good example of like flashy exterior people having a fight, and it's like you don't get to see the individual faces, but you see the silhouettes against it, and it's a really good combination of a fight scene with flashy lights, whereas in this one the flashy lights are between the characters and the camera, so it's just blocking the action, whereas the other one is like creating contrast in the background. And so started off with what I thought were two boring, meaningless fights, which I was like, okay, it's an action movie. Did you hire actors who can't do fight scenes and you need to hide it the whole time? I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I was annoyed by those first two ones.
I mean, like I said, it's probably going to be a common theme throughout the like reviewing The Gray Man, but I really didn't have any issues with the action. Like I think Ryan Gosling, that was probably the best part of what he did. Like he was like the action scenes like he was in, I thought were good. I feel like he wasn't charismatic enough to be like a really like a protagonist that you really cared about. Like he was very one note the whole way through. And I think that's just kind of maybe like a limitation of his range.
And I like Ryan Gosling as an actor. The movies he did, Drive, and also Only God Forgives. I don't know if you've seen that one, but like I don't mind a one-note character. I think like you can build a story around that. I think they tried to make him too much of the Marvel leading character making jokes and all that, and that's really not his forte. Like, but yeah. I wouldn't have minded him being the more kind of grounded character with Chris Evans being the eccentric one. But it's like it didn't quite find that balance for me, but that wasn't why I disliked the movie. I wouldn't say like I disliked Ryan Gosling's character in general.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's a weird balance for me too, because even though I say that he was kind of one note the whole time, like I still liked seeing what he was doing. And then, going back to the action, like I thought he did a good job. Same with Ana de Armas, but I'm biased when it comes to her.
I'm not upset with Ana de Armas' character either. She did fine in the supporting role that she was.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I think my I'm not gonna say love, my like for the action in The Gray Man, I think it'll come out a little bit more as we go through more of your scenes that you're gonna complain about. So we can move past the first two. Like I guess I get what you're saying. I didn't see it as much of a problem in terms of like the visibility or like how it was shot. I will say like the firework fight, it kind of looked like really glossy. Like it was just, there was a lot of CGI, even though they were just kind of in moments when they were just kind of standing there. So it was a little unnecessary and it just kind of took you out of it a little bit. But that's probably my only minor gripe about it.
I think at this point in the movie is when we get introduced to the CIA people who end up being, well, I guess this guy is famous because of Bridgerton, which is a series I've never watched and is also rumored to be the next Bond. So this is the first thing I've watched him in. Probably some of the worst acting I've seen. And like, okay, worst acting I've seen in like such a big movie like this. That it's like, I saw him and I was like, oh, I recognize this guy. People like this guy. He's probably going to have an interesting character. It was terrible. His whole, every time his character came on the screen, he just said something stupid that took me out of the movie. And I don't know if this was like, I don't know if you've seen Bridgerton or anything else that he's been in. Like, I don't know if this is like an oddly not good performance for him, but it just like, I was shocked by how terrible that character was. I mean, yeah, I've seen, like, my wife has watched Bridgerton while I've been in the room. I don't know. I didn't watch enough of him to know how good of an actor he really is. I mean, he wasn't anything special, but he didn't seem that bad to me. Like, he didn't seem especially bad in terms of his acting. Like, is there something... Okay, maybe it's not his acting. Maybe it's more the writing of his character. Because, like, if you think about it, a lot of the movie does hinge on who his character is and what he's doing. Because, you know, the whole thing is that Ryan Gosling finds secrets about him and that he's kind of, whatever, doing bad illegal shit as, like, the CIA director, whoever he is. First of all, he seems way too young to be that type of character.
Fair.
And then for someone who's supposed to be this highly intelligent person who rose up through the ranks and, you know, got to this position much younger than other people, he always keeps saying dumb shit. Like when he was interrogating Ana de Armas at one point, he just like, never at any point did I believe that this guy had any credibility. And I think later on they did say something about like, oh, he rose through the ranks because he was corrupt and other people like helped him through the ranks. But it's, you know, Billy Bob Thornton's character wasn't the best character, but I could at least believe him as somebody who worked in the CIA and kept secrets and blah, blah, blah. Like his character was fine. But then like when you compare him to, I don't even remember the character's name, but
Bridgerton guy.
It just like, he seemed really out of place. And then same with Jessica Henwick's character. It just, I don't know, maybe because like they kept having to say really dumb lines of dialogue that didn't make any sense. But it just like, I never felt like they were imposing villains at any point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I understand that part. I don't know if I don't think it was so much their performances that as much as it was they just didn't have a lot to work with. Like I think he did okay enough, especially in Bridgerton guy. I think he did okay enough in like that first scene just to establish that okay, he's kind of shady. It was a little obvious just because he was like to show that he was shady. He was kind of just ordering Ryan Gosling to kill a kid who was in the way of his like assassination. So it's maybe not so much his performance, more so like just kind of sledgehammer hitting you over the head, like this guy is supposed to be shady type stuff. Jessica Henwick, I guess she was not. She wasn't really that much of a character. I have other complaints about her, or sorry, maybe more so about the writing of her character later on in the movie. I'm sure we'll get to that because this has to do with like how little anything makes sense in the Gray Man. Yeah, okay, I'll concede a little bit there.
So compare this to, and this is both Chris Evans and the CIA people, but compare it to the Roundup. Just switching back to that one, the whole concept is he's called like the Beast Cop or something, but giant Korean cop guy. He's the guy from The Eternals.
Gilgamesh
is a movie I didn't dislike as much as most people did. Not that I loved it, but it was okay. But anyway, he has to go to Thailand or Vietnam to go like pick up somebody who they need to bring back to Korea, like a Korean national, and they get caught up in some, you know, kidnapping ring where somebody kidnaps Koreans and always like extorts them for money, blah, blah, blah. You get scenes that make it very clear that that guy is a bad guy and that he is someone to be feared. Like, first of all, good action, good fight scenes from a few of those guys and like a few of the fight scenes that they do in the beginning. He also like double crosses people in kind of like a reasonable manner that isn't just like comically bad. And it's like not the most amazing thing, but it's throughout that movie I was like, okay, I understand this is the bad guy. He seems like this is what a person could be, and you fear what he might do at some point in the movie. So again, not the most amazing thing, but just a villain I care about, which is better than the Gray Man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like he did do a good job of just like establishing how just bad and crazy he was. I don't know, like, and here's where I'm gonna have to ask you, like, are we just giving too much credit to Korean films? Because I was thinking about this while I was watching the Roundup. Like, I feel like we just naturally, we tend to just naturally give a few extra points to foreign films like Korean films, as being automatically being better than like the standard.
I would say
American.
the one advantage that they have is when the dialogue is not great. I feel like with international movies, you kind of fill it in with better dialogue and assume it's just some translation issue. So you can't really appreciate dialogue being good or bad because you're kind of going a lot off of the body language. So for some of the like really terrible lines of dialogue in The Gray Man, maybe if I was watching that in a different movie, I would have just been like, oh, maybe they said that more subtly and not so obviously expositional.
Yeah.
So maybe, but
We Yeah, okay. I mean, like we do. I feel like we do tend to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit more. Um, um, and also like I might be reaching here, but like when it comes to the villain, sorry, well, do you know his name
I
in the
don't
roundup?
remember.
Because another thing, also not a knock on the movie. It's just my own ignorance. It was very hard in the first like 30 to 40 minutes of the roundup to know who was who. There was a few of the like the bad guys in that original crew that kidnapped the Korean businessman that I couldn't really tell apart. Um, um, and the main guy was one of them, but he helped that along by killing the rest of them. So, but what I was trying to get at was that like he did his thing too. Like I said, he established that he was crazy and just willing to kill anyone at any time for money. But then there was also a little bit of the like people just saying who he was. Like when they were interrogating one of his crew a little later in the movie, right? Like he was saying, "Oh, when he got the movie, well, sorry, when he got the movie, when he got the money, he just became evil," which is kind of the same thing as like just telling you who he is. So there's a little bit of that. I don't think like we can exempt the roundup from bits
Uh,
like that.
I think that's fair because I mean, for me, the way that I saw that was it was a little bit of like foreshadowing and building up the character, and then it actually delivers something. Um, Whereas with Chris Evans' character in The Gray Man, I felt like it was almost like too over the top. Like he would a grenade blows up and he throws one of his henchmen in front of him, or he'll like just shoot the guy who finds him money, and it's just like you start asking yourself like why would anyone follow this guy, like how is he successful in anything? He seems to be like burning a lot of bridges everywhere, whereas like the I think his name is Kang in the roundup, you can see like he was trying to develop a plan and then it kind of got out from underneath him because of like the other three guys kind of screwing up, and then they end up killing the one character or the guy that they had kidnapped because it got taken too far. And then you get to see like the moment where he was like, oh, don't bury that body yet, we'll cut off the arm and then like use it to get a little bit of money before we
Yeah.
finish this. And it's like, okay, you get to see it deliver a little bit, and then there's a scene later on when a bunch of I don't know, like mercenaries or assassins try to like ambush them, and then they work their way through that, and it's like you see on the screen that they're pretty badass, and it's like that's a good fight scene that kind of delivers the image that you've been building up of him. Whereas like Chris Evans just shoots people, and it's like a little bit of a difference for me.
That's fair, and it's kind of hard to compare as well. Like, just there is the factor of the familiarity of Chris Evans, and just to see him doing these things was like kind of entertaining in itself, which is also kind of cheating because it's like it's also banking on people knowing who Chris Evans is and knowing that he's like Captain America, right?
I think that would have worked
Wait,
for me a little bit more if his character didn't seem so much like Ryan Reynolds, like the
it,
jokes that he was making.
yeah.
Like especially with all the movies that Ryan Reynolds has done for Netflix, it almost felt like somebody wrote this for Ryan Reynolds and then he said no. Um,
And then they upgraded to Chris Evans somehow.
yeah, like honestly, Chris Evans' performance is not what I'm gonna like hinge my disappointment on. Like he did
Yeah.
pretty well with what he was given. The character was not written particularly well, but like it was kind of fun seeing him ham it up because like yeah, he did an okay job.
Yeah, but then also going back to something that you kind of didn't like about his character, and I kind of enjoyed just because of the ridiculousness of it, is how like just how off the rails things were getting, especially with him just trying to. I don't even remember what they were trying to do. They were trying to get a girl or a thing like a USB. Um, yeah, I think it was all hinging on like Chris Evans trying to get the MacGuffin for the CIA guy, right? And in throughout the course of that, he's like killing all these people, like his own men and like foreign police officers, and like blowing up city blocks and like um, derailing streetcars and all this shit. And he's supposed to be like part of the CIA. Like I don't know. It's just so like outlandish that I kind of it added to the appeal for me a little bit, just to see how dumb it was getting.
So the idea of him being like an outside contractor that the CIA can use for deniability purposes, like I'm okay with that idea, but none of it
There's
makes any
limits to that.
sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the Prague fight scene. And just to mention, this is after another fight scene where you can't see anything, which is in Vienna, where he gets like trapped in the trapdoor, whatever, and then he builds up all the water and then has it explode so that there's vapor
Oh
and mist
yeah.
everywhere, preventing you from being able to see what's going on in any of the fighting. But anyway, I've already made that point. We'll move past that. Let's talk about Prague, which is in the beginning. Ryan Gosling has the MacGuffin, the USB drive that has all the information. They know where they are. Ryan Gosling does not know that they know where they are, and they are going to attack so that they can take the USB. There's a big fight scene, which I'm going to get into. With at the end, Chris Evans has revealed that his master plan was to do this big distraction so that his other guy knew where Ryan Gosling was, and Ryan Gosling didn't know where his guy was. And he's like, oh, you're not thinking on my level. But that's exactly where you were at the beginning of the scene, which is knowing where he is and being able to attack without him knowing that. So there was a whole pointless fight scene that like is sure to have made every news channel in the world.
Yeah.
But that just annoyed me. And that's part of why I don't fear Chris Evans' character at all, because nothing he does makes any sense, but he's being portrayed as a character that's hyper intelligent, who has plans on top of plans on top of plans, and it's like, you've accomplished nothing and you've claimed to be smart because of it.
I mean, I feel like, okay, maybe this where we disagree. Oh, sorry. First of all, I'm not going to argue with you at all about how dumb the plot is, because I completely agree. But I like it for I like it for that reason, whereas it is one of your complaints, and I also understand that. I will not argue against anyone who says they didn't like the movie because it didn't make any sense. Although I will say that is where the turn off your brain and just enjoy it comes in. I think where we disagree about Chris Evans is that I think I took his character in a different way, in that he's not really like smart. He's just kind of like a loose cannon, and it's fully to the extreme of like the plausible deniability guy who's just insane and a loose cannon, but he's good at what he does, so he's just like a battering ram.
So compare that to recent Mission Impossible movie with Henry Cavill, who was playing very much that same type of character. Tom Cruise is the one that goes in and like does the spy work, and then the whole thing about Henry Cavill's character is he's a battering ram. He goes in, instead of a knife, he's a hammer. And it's like, they played that character much better, because at no point in that movie did you think Henry Cavill character was supposed to be smart. He's just like big muscle guy who's going to do the bad thing and get the job done. Whereas like they kept trying to make Chris Evans seem like he was a smart character, and he wasn't. Like, I would have appreciated it more if he was just, I'm a battering ram, I'm going to do whatever I can to get the job done, and I don't care about the consequences. But it's like, I don't feel like that's how they were trying to make the character.
Okay. I mean, I might have maybe I missed something, but like I didn't take any like I didn't see them trying to make him a smart guy.
It's mainly based on one scene. Like at the end of the Prague scene, they're like, you're failing. What's your plan here? You're going to be in so much trouble. And then at the end, he gets away, and then the lone wolf is following him, and he's like, you're not on my level. You can't even comprehend my plans. And it's like, your plan doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, but see, like that I could have took of it as just like he's an insane person and he's just bullshitting, like the like you're talking about the Tamil guy, right?
Yeah.
The lone wolf, because like I think it was kind of just by chance. You didn't even really know he was there until it's shown on the screen that he's in the movie now, and it's just like I think it was kind of the same for the characters, in that like he does know that he's failing upwards. And he's just kind of like lucked out that the lone wolf is actually still there, or like following whatever the
If they
MacGuffin.
would have portrayed it as such, I probably wouldn't have been annoyed by that. I just never got that impression that he didn't think that it was all some part of master plan.
Yeah. Okay.
But going back to the whole Prague fight scene, he's supposed to be at least somewhat decent at his job. At this point, Ryan Gosling and Ana de Armas are talking to kind of the old lady and getting some information. And then like they roll up on them, and immediately there's just like 4 or 5 people from the ground level that just start shooting a window on the second level. And it's like,
Yep.
this is like a spy movie. Like you're supposed to go in, you break down the door, you throw in like literally anything other than just like stand outside and start shooting all at the same time. So that was pretty dumb. But it also leads to something which annoyed me because it was done twice, which is old person blows themselves up to sacrifice and like help them get away. First time it happens in that Prague scene, like the old lady blows herself up, but then they bring it back later in the movie. Billy Bob Thornton does it, and it's like, okay, you can't do it twice. You only get that once.
Wait.
Find some other way to do it.
I guess, yeah. I actually didn't even catch that they did that same thing twice.
Later, annoyed by the action in the action scene that follows that, the first time the old lady blows herself up, which is Ryan Gosling handcuffed to a bench, cops on one side, mercenaries on the other trying to get him. He's trying to avoid, which I think is an interesting setup for an action scene. The problem being, you have no idea who is who or what side they're on or like what's going on. Like, I feel like you need at some point an overhead shot to say he's in the middle. Like, they kind of told us he was in the middle and that there's guns shooting, but like never at any point did I understand what the concept of the scene was, what the stakes were, like if they were getting close, because it was just like a shot of people shooting and then some cops being shot. And it's like, are they close? Are they almost there? Is there like some geography in the way that he can help? And it's like, no, it's just shooting and then eventually he gets away. So I thought that was a wasted opportunity.
That's fair. I mean, so I think what I have to give like the Russo brothers credit for, and like Marvel as a whole, I think they get away with things like that so often, because you're saying that, like, I didn't really think that as the scene was happening, and it makes sense that sure it's a fair complaint, but they kind of like they'll do something like that and then they'll wipe it all away with like a funny moment where like Ryan Gosling this is all happening, and then Ryan Gosling, he gets the gun, like he's been trying to get the gun for the whole scene because he's handcuffed with the intention of like shooting his handcuff off, and he finally gets it. He shoots like a mercenary who like gets a little too close, and then he tries to shoot and he's out of bullets. And like that little moment, I think, was like enough for me to just not care about like how like the structure of the scene, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to like making movies, but I think it's just an observation about how they can do something quote unquote dumb like that and get away with it, because you're not really at the end of it, you're not thinking about that, you're just thinking about, oh, this was a cool moment or a funny moment.
I will say it's one of my more like nitpicky complaints about the movie, and it's less that it was bad and it was more that it was a missed opportunity, because I feel like that's one of the underrated elements that makes a good action scene, which is understanding what's going on, what's around you, like what's happening, because understanding, you know, some of the different like possibilities or understanding the geography of what's going on helps understand the impact and consequences of things going on mid-action scene. One really good example of this, which is way a long time ago, is Seven Samurai, 1950s samurai movie. There's a big action scene at the end where an army invades a little city that they're defending. Was later made into the Magnificent Seven, so they have a similar concept there. But they spend time, like a good 5-10 minutes before the action scene, as that kind of that nice quiet moment before the action, that they walk around the town. And obviously there's a conversation going on between two characters, but they let you know, here's what the plan is. If we fail in this, we're going to go back to this. And so when the fight's going on, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to have somebody giving expositional dialogue to say like, oh, we need to retreat to this thing, because you understand it as it's happening. And I just feel like there's certain scenes where I see that happening where it's like, okay, I understand what's going around. And even if the camera doesn't show it to me or someone doesn't say all the things, like I kind of understand the consequences of what's going on in this action scene because of all the surroundings. And I just felt like that was, I literally didn't know who was who, like who was the cops, who was SWAT, who was the mercenaries. And it's just like, there's just people getting shot. So for me, that made it a boring action scene.
Well, the thing about that, Carson, is in the Gray Man, it doesn't matter who's who.
I guess. They go from that onto a tram fight, which I actually watched it 2 or 3 times today because I did not understand why suddenly the tram started going full speed and not stopping. And
That's never explained, is it?
There's a half-second scene where somebody breaks like the break-in emergency, which I think was their attempt, but I've never seen a break this glass to make the tram go full speed button. It's like usually you see somebody in a subway, they push it to full speed and then they shoot the panel or whatever so it can't stop. It's like, just show me that. But they don't even show you that, and it's like, okay, for some reason this tram is going off the rails. Not my biggest argument, because like it's an okay action scene, like the idea of cars chasing it. For some reason there's also no passengers, nobody on that tram. It's one of those that didn't make any sense. It wasn't the worst action scene, but again, it's like could have been better. Do a couple extra things to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a scene where I think Ryan Gosling was like running on top of the crashing tram and then jumping off onto the hood of Ana de Armas's car without a scratch on him, as like everything was exploding. I think I'm not even sure if I'm exaggerating anymore.
No, it like crashed into a building and he went flying and landed on the car and he was just okay.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, I think he said that he didn't want to sit in the trunk because he was sore. And that's how they explained it.
Yeah. And also, like, funny joke about how she keeps saving him. Haha, I'd like to save you once. So forget about all this other stuff that doesn't make sense. It's the formula. It's following the formula.
Meanwhile, in the Roundup, there is not so much an action scene, but a scene at the end where they have to give, like, a hostage money to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a big chase that goes on about like, oh, this group is, he's got the hostage guy in one scene. You got to have like a couple brothers who are following them around and making them do stuff. Again, not the most amazing scene, but I understood what was going on and what the consequences of them saying, oh, turn here or do a U-turn. That's all. That's all I want. I just want to understand what's going on and, feel like it's a realistic scenario.
Yeah.
So I'm not even saying it's the most amazing movie. I'm just saying they did the bare minimum and the Gray Man did not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I can't hold any of the things that I am griping about the Roundup. I can't hold it against it because it's more so because I'm dumb and not the movie. Because in the whole the hostage situation scene, there were certain parts where I didn't know it's the same issue that you had with the Prague fight. Like, I don't know who these two guys are with axes who are coming across these guys in the van, and they just all start killing each other, and I don't know who's killing who and why. And then it was explained, like, it made sense after because someone said like. I forget what it is. Something like there was mercenaries there, hired by one guy, while the two axe guys were hired by the main bad guy. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I'm sure it probably made sense to other people.
So whether I could tell characters apart or not, as a white person, I can't admit that. But I will say, at least for the second half of the movie, I knew who all of the characters were.
Yeah, and sorry, I should make that clear as well. As the movie went on, I did understand. Like, it's not literally everyone in the movie. I didn't
I
I couldn't tell them apart. Just I disclaimer.
uh,
Anyone listening? I'm not. I can tell people apart. I don't think all Koreans look the same.
I will say that there was definitely like parts in the roundup where I wasn't sure who was hiring who, because
Yeah.
there's the one scene where the two kind of main bad guys with axes are being ambushed by a group of mercenaries who have been hired by a rich guy. And at that point, like, they introduced the mercenaries, and I was like, I don't know who these guys are. Were they hired? Like, which side are they on? Do the crazy guys report to these guys and they're here for their money, or were they hired by the rich guy? Like, I didn't get that, but I understood the concept of they are in this apartment to ambush these two guys. These guys, you see off in the screen, like, they see it coming, so they ambush them. But also, instead of going around, he just walks in the front doors, which kind of, again, shows his character as a bad guy, which is like kind of badass. And it's a good scene. Like, there's legitimately good stunt actors, and like the fighting is decent. Which for me, I was more entertained by that fight than any of the scenes in The Gray Man. But again, and I'll say it again, not the most amazing movie, just the bare minimum.
We'll pin that. We'll pin that comment. Okay. I think another note about the roundup, and actually a lot of Asia, like this includes like Indonesian movies, like Indonesian action movies, Korean, I think Japanese falls in there as well, Thai that I've seen. And I think maybe it has to do with the availability of guns in those countries, but it's a lot of knife fighting. And this is all like right now, this whole point I'm making is 100% preference. But I don't like watching people fight with knives, because like any like cutting or stabbing just like makes me like cringe, because I just like, I don't know if I'm just more used to seeing as a dumb Westerner, I'm used to seeing people get shot all the time. It just seems like if I were in that situation, or just if I had to see someone, this sounds terrible, but if I had to see in a movie, sorry, add that, if I had to see someone get shot rather than get stabbed, I would always rather someone get shot, because it's like you can disconnect the damage from the action a lot easier. And just like stabbing and cutting is like gross to me.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's just preference. Like, I would rather see a knife fight because I want to understand that violence has consequences. And there's so many times that I see guns where it's just like, you go click, click, and then somebody falls down. And it's like he gave him a sleep pill or something. And it's like, you're almost like so disconnected from the violence that there doesn't seem to be any consequences. And for me, it's boring to just see 20 people get shot. It's like, okay, I'd rather see that there's something to be afraid of.
Yeah. And like, I 100% get that. Like, it's definitely a lot more palatable, which is a horrible thing to think about or say, especially considering like the world today. And I think we're getting into something a little deeper than these fun, dumb action movies right now. But like, yeah, I don't know if I want to keep going down that road.
So the one thing I'll say is, like, you can make. I don't just want to say it's boring because it has guns, because one thing I was thinking about when I was watching this and other movies when I see gun violence is comparison to the movie Heat, which I'm not sure you've seen, but like,
yeah,
at one point at the end, they go out into the street, there's like a big shootout, and like guns seem legitimately scary. Like, they are crazy loud, and it's like anytime a gun goes off, you're almost like frightened or like flinching a little bit, and it's a really, really good shooting fight scene. So it's like, I don't want to say that just because it's gun it's boring, because like there are examples of doing it really well, but I just feel like some movies get to the point where it's just lazy. It's just like bad filmmaking to just, I don't know, shoot a bunch of blanks around.
And you could maybe even say like a little what's the word, irresponsible, because then that's how you get to where I am, where you're just completely desensitized by like
gun violence is okay.
Yeah, I'd rather see that than you say something stupid like that on a podcast. But actually, I was gonna make that point because I think Michael Mann also, who did Heat, and sorry, I'm going to go a little bit off on a tangent really quickly, but Michael Mann, who directed Heat, also did Collateral. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yep.
Tom Cruise is the villain, and his hair is all white for some reason, but he's an assassin, and like all like it's much smaller scale than Heat because he's like just going around going around assassinating people. It's not a huge gunfight in the street, but every time someone shoots their gun, I remember, and this was before like I knew about directors and stuff, but every time someone would shoot a gun, it's like you said, it's really loud, it's jarring, it's scary, you don't like it. And I think that's something that Michael Mann does really well. But yeah, maybe let's more of that so people don't like guns anymore. Maybe
I'm going to take this tangent even further. Apparently, there is a novel about Heat 2 that people said was too big to ever make into a movie. It needs to be a TV series, but Michael Mann has now said he's going to make like a 4-hour movie about Heat 2, which I hope gets made because I really liked Heat 1.
Yeah. I actually watched Heat 1 for the first time like a few weeks ago.
Did you see the comparisons to The Dark Knight?
Huh?
The crew of Dark Knight had Heat playing like on loop because they were copying it and like referencing it so much throughout The Dark Knight.
I'm going to have to watch that back. I didn't. I mean, a little bit maybe, but we'll...
Influence from like a crime movie type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to The Gray Man. The one fight scene that I did like, which comes up after the Prague big fight scene, is the hospital fight scene. Which I know you made some jokes about, but it was the only one that I liked, and I felt that it was confusing because it showed that these filmmakers could make a fight scene that you lock the camera down and see what the characters are doing. Yes, it gets silly for one particular part, but I felt that I actually just liked a good old-fashioned, bunch of sharp objects in a room fight each other type scene.
Yeah, I think that has more to do with like people when watching a big quote unquote big movie like this, they just want to see they want to be amazed. So like I think regular hand to hand punching, kicking, cutting fight scene, like small scale, where you actually understand the consequences more rather than like CGI smoke everywhere, fireworks shooting. Like you get a lot more of that in a movie like this than the hospital fight scene, which I mean, yes, I also enjoyed that. I'm kind of realizing your point now because the one part of that fight scene that you're mentioning that completely just I didn't remember a whole lot else about the hospital fight scene because of this one moment, and it's the moment where the Tamil assassin, I'm not being racist, that's what he's called in the movie, he gets defibrillated by Ryan Gosling and doesn't even fall down. Like he stays on his 2 feet. He doesn't lose consciousness or anything. Maybe I'm wrong about how defibrillators work, but I feel like you should instantly die.
I rewatched that today because you made that comment before. He does he has to shake it off, but yes, he probably would have been worse off. And not only does he not die, he takes the defibrillator out of Ryan Gosling's hand and then starts swinging it around and hitting them in the face with it.
He continues fighting after being defibrillated, which is I think that was the moment in the movie where I was like, yeah, this is really dumb and I like it.
But no, I actually like that scene, not because of that, whatever. First time I watched it, I didn't even really care about that. I'll give it a pass for a dumb movie like that. It's okay, he didn't die with the defibrillator, whatever. But it's okay, you had sharp objects, you had people fighting in a room. It worked for me. Maybe that guy is just a better action person than Ryan Gosling or Chris Evans, so they could get away with it more. But I mean, he also has a fight later on with Ana de Armas one-on-one, and which is poorly shot in just a million cuts over and over and kind of hides the action. Yeah. But I like that. That's probably my favorite character in the movie. He seemed decent. But I like that scene. It was okay.
how did you feel about the end of that fight scene where Ryan Gosling throws Ana de Armas, or no, sorry, Ana de Armas gives Ryan Gosling an unloaded gun to kill the assassin with, and that's like a whole little like running joke for the rest of the last third of the movie for some reason.
I didn't care about that. Like rewatching it, he does try to like he throws the gun and then you see him pick up shells as if he was intending to also throw that. And then it's like I feel like this is one of those I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel CinemaSins, but they
Yeah.
go through and they point out every single thing that's wrong. And I feel like this is one of those things where you can get away with throwing a loaded gun and most people in the audience will not know that that's a thing that people would not actually do. But because some YouTube channel says you shouldn't throw a loaded weapon and people who are spies know not to do that, that they had to put in a scene to respond to the CinemaSins. And it's like, okay, that's a little nitpicky. And these were the same guys. I think it was during Civil War was like the height of it, where the Russo brothers actually said they made Civil War with CinemaSins in mind and made a note to not do any of the things. Which is like, I'll be nitpicky on movies, but you can get away with things if your movie is good. If you get too far into just not doing things that other people are pointing out, then you're making a movie that's a response to Twitter instead of just making a movie. A good example, going back to Dark Knight, there's a lot of things you can nitpick about Dark Knight, but you don't care because it's a good movie and you like the characters and you can understand what's going on as a whole. So it's like, those don't matter. Whereas like, I feel like the Russo brothers spend too much time responding to CinemaSins.
Yep. And then you get some, well, not by the Russo brothers, but then you also get something like The Last Jedi, where you try to fake everyone out because of what everyone's saying online.
Yeah, it's too much of a response, which that was actually another point I was going to make, a comparison to the Disney movies, is what I'm calling Rise of Skywalker syndrome, which is let's move to the next scene before people can think about what's going on right now. Because we go from like Singapore to Mongolia to Hong Kong to Vienna to Prague and to Croatia, and it's just like there's way too many locations. Just let me like understand what's going on for a little bit here.
Yeah, we can just completely forget that Prague exploded like 5 minutes ago because we're in a hospital now.
Zero consequence.
Yeah. Actually, that one more point about that. It's funny because I think Disney is doing, or they're trying to fix that, or maybe not fix that, but they're using that, but not in the same movie, just because they've built this universe for so long and throughout so many series and movies. Like Multiverse of Madness did this, and like a lot of Marvel movies now are doing this because they're calling back to things that people did in earlier Marvel movies. Like, for example, in Multiverse of Madness, when Doctor Strange meets his old surgeon coworker, and he's saying like, "Oh, my lost my brother and my cat and my boyfriend," or something like that. Like, did you really have to like give Thanos the time stone type thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe they're learning now that there has to be consequences, but like only after like a span of 20 movies. So it's not really, it's kind of hard for them to do that in the span of 1.5 hour Gray Man.
Yeah,
Which is
I don't
not
know
an
if I can
excuse,
suggest like better ways to do that, because yeah, if you're going to make 20 movies, at some point people are going to start to point out inconsistencies. I'd rather they just ignore them. That was one of my biggest issues with Star Wars even before Disney started, was like they felt the need to have to explain so much. It's like, okay, Han Solo said the term parsecs, which doesn't make any sense. Instead of just ignoring it, it's like, now we have to build a whole story to explain it now.
Let's make a whole movie explaining why he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not going to be nitpicky on if they don't make 20 movies all line up. It's like, I'm okay with that. Just make,
Yeah.
I want to sit down and watch one movie and just understand what's going on in that particular movie. Getting up to the end of The Gray Man, I don't have a whole lot to complain about the big finale, with exception of it was boring and disappointing when Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans finally fight. I had mentioned early on that they don't give us a lot of information about Ryan Gosling. At some point at the end, Chris Evans is drowning him, and we get to learn that his dad was drowning him at one point, and he learned to fight back because of that. That'd be really good to have like some foreshadowing on, or like, you know, understand that about the character, because they really just like throw that in. But it's like, so the one thing I was thinking about as, because there's one scene where you see Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling walk up to each other, and I was reminded of the end of Raid 2, which is an unfair comparison because that's like the best action movie of all time in my opinion. But you have like the kitchen fight scene in Raid 2, where you have your big villain and your protagonist kind of meet and have like a really good scene where they do a little like playful cutting and banter, like before it starts to get really intense. And I almost feel like that's what they were trying to do with that scene, where it was like Ryan Gosling gets a good shot in on Chris Evans, and then he like sits on a bench and dumps rocks out. And then like later on he pulls out a knife and gets like one cut in and walks away. And it's like they wanted to build up to it, but it's just like I don't think any of those actors could really fight that well, and so it was kind of like a disappointing fight scene. But it's like that's the whole movie is those two versus each other, and it doesn't really amount to much at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like the last, like that ending, most of the ending didn't really matter a whole lot to me. I was a little checked out at that point just because like it had come down a lot, and so when it comes, it's like after blowing up cities and like defibrillating people and like all this crazy shit, like them Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling fighting one-on-one didn't really matter a whole lot to me, which is probably goes against my support of the movie. But on top of that, like all I could think about while they were fighting is that you could have just let Ana de Armas shoot him. I mean, you could have shot him because he had to do the whole cool guy thing where you just like throw away your bullets because you want to fight, and then it kind of almost resulted in your death by stabbing. It's like I don't know why I have more of a problem with that than all the other stupid things that happened in the movie, but yeah, I don't know. It's fine.
I'd also like to point out at that scene that like, so he has like the girl kidnapped and he's like, oh, I'm gonna shoot her, and then he has the flare gun and he like shoots it off by her face, and it's like, I'll do it. It takes a really long time to reload a flare gun. You can't just like shoot it and then be like, I'm gonna shoot another one. It's like they're single shot. But like that's the type of fight scene that I would have wanted to see that movie end with, which is kind of like that. It's the opposite of Avengers Endgame, where they took an actual good story and then said, fuck it, we'll just have everyone fight. It's like they took a movie in The Gray Man where it's everyone fighting, and then it's like, okay, let's care about our two main characters having like a final moment in the sunset and, you know, all that.
Yeah.
So good concept, bad execution, which is what I would say about most of The Gray Man. Like I liked the idea of it, but it was just poorly executed. Contrast that to The Roundup. Again, not amazing, but you get a scene where it's like we finally track down Kang. He's sitting on a bus. He's almost escaped. And then he just comes in and just beats the shit out of him, which was hilarious that it wasn't even like up for debate. And then like punches him out of like the bus window.
Yeah. That funny enough, that was probably like my favorite part of the Roundup, because I like call back to one of our previous episodes when we were talking about like I don't know, action movies or action fight scenes, and I called out one of my favorite ones stupidly as The Rock versus Vin Diesel in one of the Fast and Furious movies, because they're just like punching through cinder block pillars and like throwing each other through walls and stuff, and like I just got vibes of that so much every time I had to look up his name. I'm gonna butcher it after looking it up. Ma Dong Seok.
I think he also just goes by Donnie Ma.
Donnie Ma?
I think he has an American name. I forget if it's Donnie.
Oh, okay.
I think he does.
Well, yeah, main guy who was also in Train to Busan and Gilgamesh from Eternals, but like he I forgot what I was even saying. Oh yeah, just like every time he was fighting someone, I feel like he has like the Vin Diesel clause in his contract, because he can never be in trouble in a fight, and he's literally like punching the the villain through like bus seats and like bus poles and the bus window, like you said. Oh, and he finishes him off by punching his head through a car windshield.
It's funny because like I'm the one that should usually be annoyed by that. Like I should be taken out, but I just found because it's like otherwise like outside of his character, it's a pretty grounded movie. Like nothing too crazy happens, and then just like out of nowhere, it's like unreasonably ridiculous strength, which is like okay, I'll buy it for comedic effect every once in a while.
But then and like going a little more into the Roundup, this is something I wanted to ask you, like because it's weird because it is goofy at some points, like with the captain. He's obviously supposed to be like the silly guy, and then you have Donnie, good old Donnie, just like throwing people through walls and like just never in trouble, even though he's facing down like two guys with machetes. And then but like in the fights there's like guys getting chopped up, like a machete, like the captain gets a machete to the chest, and like his friends are getting stabbed, and like meanwhile they're like they'll 5 minutes later they'll like do something silly and like joke around. So like I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be goofy or like serious, because like, and maybe this goes back to like the whole like shooting versus stabbing, like understanding the consequences, and we're just not used to that. But yeah, it was a little all over the place for me, which I mean,
I didn't like that because I think the movie was grounded in the characters, like those cops, they're being likable. Mm-hmm. What I hate is when you have like comedic movies like that and then the villains are just not a consequence at all. Like you never feel threatened by them, and it did feel like it took that turn where it's like, oh shit, these guys actually, like I wasn't expecting that type of violence in a movie that seems like it's kind of a goofy comedy movie. And so it added a bit of weight to it, and then you kind of go that back and forth. I think the cops are serious enough at times that it's not like they are just goofing off, and it's like I oddly enough want to compare it to like Rush Hour, which I know is probably like a sin for you. But it's like, I felt like they were likable, but the villains in the Rush Hour, like the whole trilogy, it's like you generally take them serious. You know that they are a threat. And it's like the tones, like I get your point that it does change quite drastically, but the balance worked for me. Whereas like it wasn't like The Last Jedi where you felt like you were in a completely different movie, one for kids and one for adults.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. And funny you should mention Rush Hour, like the whole the sequence when they went to, I think, Vietnam the first time, like with him and the captain. Mm-hmm. It kind of felt like Rush Hour, and I can't explain why. I think it was just because they were it was just like literally just because of in a different country, and one's silly and one's not, and mm-hmm. like that's it. They're like investigating something which doesn't matter. I don't know what's happening.
I do wonder if it makes more sense if I had watched the first one, because and that was actually one other thing I'm going to compare between these two movies. Quirky character who gets used for part of the storyline, the passport guy in The Gray Man who like locks him in the trapdoor, versus the like goofy illegal immigrant in the Roundup. The guy from the like, they immediately shoot the passport guy and the Vienna trapdoor guy in The Gray Man, and then he's not used very well. Whereas like the guy from the Roundup, they keep using him and he comes back in like multiple scenes as like part of the plot. And I actually liked that use of kind of the goofy character. And I think they alluded to him being in the first movie as if he was like someone that they ran into and had a history. I don't know. I haven't seen the first one, but it's like, you know, less characters, grounded, like give me less locations, and it means more because you can do more with that goofy character as opposed to like passport guy you kind of just forget about. Because he gets shot immediately.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it was a little strange to me, or like it was a little confusing to me when he started like not passport guy, the what was the other guy? Illegal immigrant guy?
Yeah, the illegal alien, I think they called him.
Yeah, and when he like started helping them, like not just supported them, like he was fully in like the hostage situation sequence, like he played a big role in it, like he was supposed to keep the wife safe, and keep the money safe both at the same time, which I thought was
Yeah,
an
that they
interesting
trusted him.
choice.
And then there's like the weird scene where they like tell him to put his balls in his hands so he can squeeze them. And it's like, okay, maybe there's more history between those characters I don't understand.
Is that what was happening?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for context, for anything, I feel like I should explain this for anyone listening. But like, there's a scene when he's first introduced, I guess, in this movie. I don't know if he was introduced in the last one, but he's kind of he's trying to get him to give him information. Sorry, the main Donnie is trying to give illegal alien or trying to get illegal alien to give him information about something. And he's like holding his hand out and he's counting to 3. And the guy just like you said, he just jumps up and like puts his balls in his hand so he can like crush them. I didn't know if if it was just bad editing and he actually like went up and grabbed him or
No, he definitely put his hand out and the guy just went there. But like I assume that's explained in the first movie. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I like that character more. Like he added a goofiness to the movie that I don't know, like comedic side character. It works. Not like the best character, just like does his job.
Yeah. And just to the extent that they used him, which was surprising to me, but I liked that. I liked the use of him, so I'll agree with that.
And that's the end of my list of things I'm annoyed about in The Gray Man. I'm not sure if you had other arguments for or against. And we didn't talk about the Roundup too much. I don't know if you had other points about that one.
No, I mean, like I made my point, and also I can't gripe too much about it because, like, again, the language barrier and it's a lot of it was confusing to me. But I'm not going to hold it against that movie. I think it just goes to show the fact that I liked the bus fight more than anything in the Roundup. Was just it just shows what I like, and it's a matter of preference, really. But
so here's a question for you: if the first movie that the Roundup is a sequel was, if it was just like sitting on Netflix, would you go watch it, or were you just like, nah, not interested?
I would watch it, but I would watch The Gray Man 2 before I watched the first Roundup movie. I'm actually looking at it right now on IMDb because I am curious. But yeah,
the Gray Man 2 will probably most definitely happen. Maybe they'll have Ryan Reynolds in the next one as the villain.
I mean, that at this point would not be surprising to me at all.
I thought he was retired, but he keeps doing stuff.
Retired?
He said he was retiring to like be a full-time dad, and then he signed up for more movies.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Well, the Tamil assassin is definitely going to be back because he just decided to stop fighting.
Is he famous in Bollywood movies or other? Because like he seems like he's a decent actor.
You are asking the wrong person. But let's do a quick search live on his name on IMDb is Danush. He has one name like Adele.
It kind of feels like he was added to the movie to kind of reach that audience and that he might be somebody famous, but I, again, also have no idea about all of those movies from that part of the world.
Yeah, which is interesting because like it's usually a Chinese person included in the movie for that reason. But he's been in 57 movies. I can't read any of their titles except for The Gray Man. I mean, I did like him in The Gray Man.
I'm okay with him coming back for Gray Man 2. He can take the Ana de Armas role of helping him.
Yeah, I mean, while also keeping Ana de Armas, right? At the same time.
Sure, why not? I actually think Ana de Armas is a good actress, and I'm hoping Blonde gets her some recognition because most people like
so she can do.
She's like a bimbo actress, and people are like, "Oh, she's good looking," but it's like, yes, but also good actress.
She is actually. I don't even think that she's not portrayed or like presented as bimbo actress.
Is the wrong word, but like for her looks more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, because like Knives Out is when like the first thing I saw her in, and I liked her in that not because of her looks, more so because of her acting and her character. But
Presumably, you
anyways,
also saw her in Blade Runner 2049.
oh yeah, I did. So that was, but let's not talk about that. But that's all I have to say about that.
Presumably, you would recommend Gray Man over the Roundup to anyone who has not seen either.
I actually was thinking about that, and I would. I mean, like, just because and it's not even a knock against the Roundup. The Gray Man is just more, more palatable, or like it's more basic and like easier to watch than the Roundup. I don't have like issues with I'll watch a movie with subtitles, so I'll watch like foreign movies. I don't have problems with that. But I mean, if I do have the choice, I would watch mashed potatoes over I don't know. Kids. I was gonna say kimchi, but that's not good. I can't like.
So Gray Man is mashed potatoes in this.
Gray Man is mashed potatoes because it's like comforting and easy, and the Roundup is well, okay. Take it like this is bad. The Roundup is the. I'll say kimchi not because of the Korean thing, but like it's good. I like kimchi, but I don't always want kimchi because it's like spicy and it's not a strange taste. I'm just gonna stop.
I like the Roundup for all the reasons that you're saying you like the Gray Man more. For me, it was just easier to watch, easier to follow. I understood who the characters are. I understand what the stakes in the villain are. And, things happened and the good guy won. Yay. Didn't think about it too much more. Whereas the Gray Man, I'm a new parent. I don't sleep much. I don't want to think about movies as much as I did a couple years ago. I watched the Gray Man and I was thinking the whole time about everything that was wrong with it. So I had to think way too much. My brain was turned on. I wanted it to be turned off.
I think, I think you're the only one that I would ever hear say that, which is not a bad thing. But
please, if you disagree listening to this, at Houston we have a podcast on Instagram. Please tell me someone out there agrees with me. I have not heard any agreeing opinions yet.
I know who to I know who to suggest the Gray Man to, and I know who to suggest the Roundup to. Let's put it that way. Maybe that's better. And so I don't have to talk about mashed potatoes and kimchi because that was just stupid. I'm sorry.
It's staying up. I'm not cutting that.
That's fine.
Let's end it off there. We also wanted to talk briefly about some upcoming movies and TV shows. Actually, the only thing I wanted to talk about was Blonde, and saying that I'm looking forward to that, and I hope it's good, and it's on Netflix, so I'm going to watch it. That's all. You want to talk about something else?
I do. I mean, before we move on from Blonde, I just wanted to ask you, I saw on like, I don't know if it was Twitter or something social media about people saying, just let Marilyn Monroe be dead and stop making movies and stuff about her. How do you feel about that?
So it's worth saying that the movie is based on a book that is not intending to be accurate. Like, it's not saying, hey, here's a 100% accurate version of her life. It's more like a stylized version. I don't really know much about Marilyn Monroe, so I don't really care about it from that perspective. I care about the movie because Andrew Dominik is a good director who comes out of the shadows every 7 years and makes a good movie and then disappears. And this is the one that he has decided to make this decade, and I'm okay with that. I'll watch whatever he puts out there.
Cool.
His other work, Assassination Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, good Brad Pitt movie. And then he made a movie Chopper, which is kind of a hyper-violent, weird movie from, I don't know, 2000, I think, or something. But yeah, he just makes solid movies that are well acted, well directed. And so I just hope that this is another one.
Cool. I might actually watch Blonde.
It's on Netflix. It's free.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. I wanted to bring up Andor, which is a strange combination of a character that I do not like or care about, and a story that I am interested about. So it's, I mean, it's the newest Star Wars series that's coming out soon on Disney Plus, um, following Cassian Andor, who is the spy guy in Rogue One, which is the best new Star Wars movie out of all of them. I'm sure Carson would agree. Um, and yeah, it's just showing how he did his spy thing. I think it's not, the trailer hasn't given a whole lot away, but it actually looks like, and we probably say this a lot, or like a lot of people say this every time a new Star Wars series comes out, like, oh, it's new stuff. Like they're not going to do the same Skywalker lightsabers, X-wing, TIE fighter. Um, it, I genuinely feel, well, oh, sorry, with a grain of salt, I genuinely feel that way about this series. Hopefully Disney has listened a little bit to that, like those complaints about just everything in Star Wars is the same right now, and it's telling a different story, and it's not like just fan service like Kenobi.
I am, for everything I've said against Rogue One, I am very okay with the Andor TV show that I've seen so far, because I agree what you're saying about Disney. Like, throw in all the things you've already seen, Kenobi fan service, and even Mandalorian season 2 and Book of Boba Fett, that it's just the cameos overtook the story. Mandalorian season 1 was good because it was just its own thing. Somebody going on an adventure, a couple characters, you get to like the characters. Andor, if I had to make a prediction, I think Andor season 1 will be good. I think it'll get some attention, and then in season 2, name every character that is available for them in that time period, which is many, and they're all going to come in on their own episode, and it's going to lose everything that everyone liked about it. So I'll watch season 1, and I won't care about season 2, even though I'll probably watch it anyway.
That's
Oddly enough, so
good.
I say I'm always going to hate these things, and then I watch them anyway. I have successfully not watched the last 2 Disney Plus Marvel shows. I'm proud of myself for finally like quitting what I know is bad for me.
Which 2 were
Miss
they?
Marvel and She-Hulk.
Oh, okay.
I probably actually will watch She-Hulk at some point. It does seem like an interesting concept. I don't know if it's any good or not. I don't know. Maybe I just seem sexist now because I quit on those shows.
I feel like you might stop watching She-Hulk after the first episode. I did skip Miss Marvel. I watched like half of the first episode, and I kind of wasn't into it. I'm probably going to continue it because I just want to know what happens, and I have to continue my Marvel subscription in my brain.
I probably also will watch them at some point.
So completely disregarding everything you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll watch Andor. Why not? I want, like, as much as I hate these shows, I want to like them. I want them to come out with something good. But the hope is fading.
You think it'll ever fade completely?
My best hope for Marvel and Star Wars is that it gets... Actually, the worse it gets, the more open to risk they are. Like, you look at X-Men kind of died, and because of that, we got Logan.
Oh, yeah.
The MCU was not starting to fade, because obviously they were building up to the Avengers, but like they took a property like Guardians of the Galaxy, which they really didn't care whether, like, I'm sure they wanted it to succeed, but they took risks and it was good. So I'm hoping that we start seeing such bad Marvel and Star Wars things that it makes them lose hope and go, okay, we'll give director that no one has heard of right to do whatever story they want to do because we want to try something new, and it ends up being really good. And they'll just have to ignore everything else until then.
Fair.
All right, let's end it off there. I never said spoilers for Gray Man. You've already now heard the entire thing. Watch it if you want to. Go check out the Roundup. Sure, why not? Or don't. I also don't feel opinionated enough about the Roundup to be offended if you don't want to go watch it. And we will, whatever outro, tune in again next month or whatever. Blah, blah, blah.